Hello friends, welcome back to your channel #DMP study with me. So this is the Prepare Python for Placement series 4, and this series we are going to discuss some more concepts of objects and classes, and also we'll discuss the concepts of inheritance. So let's get started into the video. So now let's move towards some first question of this session. Now this is a very simple question. So they are asking which of the following is false with respect to the Python code. So for that we have to see the options first. Before that, just go through the code and try to understand the code. So they are creating a class student, and in this class student we have init method that will instantiate the object of student class. So we have two instance variable, one is self.id and one is self.age. So it is initializing the value inside self.id as id and self.age equals to age, and along with that, after that we are creating the object by calling std equals to student 1 comma 20. So what it will do, it will call the constructor and it will initialize the value of id as 1 and age as 20, but after that it is not asking to display it. So let's move towards the options. Let's see what are the different options and what it is asking. So it is asking which of the following option is false with respect to this particular code. So the first option is saying std is a reference variable for the object student 1 comma 20. Yes, it is true, std is an instance variable. Then it is asking id and age are called the parameters. Yes, inside init method we have passed two parameter, one is id and age, so that's why this is also true. Now third, it is saying that every class must have constructor. So this is not compulsory that every class should mention the constructor. So this option is false. So according to above these options, the option C is the false one. So the answer for the following Python code is the option C. Now let's jump to the next question. Now the next question is asking what will be the output of the below Python code. Now in this code some of the snippet is missing. The class student is not defined here. So in class student we have the init method. Inside init we have mentioned name and id, and the init method is also printing the id. So now see over here we have created the object student, and when we are created the object, along with that we are calling the constructor, assigning the value name as name and id as 1. So after that set the value of id as 2. So after defining the class and after calling the object, it is setting the value of particular instance variable which is equals to 2, and asking it to print it. So let's try it a dry run. Let's try to do the dry run first, and then we will execute in the Python notebook. So according to the question, what the question will do, first it will assign the value of id as 1, and when it will assign the value id as 1 in the init method, it will also print the value of id. So it will print the value as 1, and after executing this statement, this std student name 1, it will assign the value of id as 2, and again it is printing. So when again it will ask to print the value of id, it will print the output 2. So let's see the options. We have these options, and according to the understanding, the output will be 1 and 2. So let's try to execute it and verify it by executing this code on the Python notebook. So now see, this is the code. We have the student class, and we have already discussed what is this code all about. Let's try to execute this code and see what will be the output. So in this code I have passed the name as Simon and the value as 1, and the output of this particular code is, so now you can see the output is 1 and 2. So I think it will be clear to you how the value 1 will become due to this particular self.id when we are just calling this particular object, and 2 will be called because of the last statement print std.id. So let's move towards the next question. So now in this question, it is again asking for the output in the Python code, and this is really a good question. Just go through this question. In this it creates a class A, and again the init method inside it, and there is an instance variable which is self.count, and it is set as 5. And the next statement, what it is doing, it is just incrementing it by 1. Now outside this class, it is creating a object A, and it is calling a dot count. So basically it is calling the instance attribute count. So can you tell me what will be the output? Please write down in the comment box what will be the output of this particular code. Let's see the options of this particular code. Now let's try it on Python notebook and try to understand what it is saying. So I told you that it is consisting of init method, and inside init method what it is doing, it is initializing the value of self.count as 5. Now again the next statement, what it is saying, the self.count is equals to count plus 1. Now what will happen, because self.count, it is an instance variable, the value of instance variable is 5, but the count, it is not defined. Till now we have not defined any variable of name count. The instance variable is there, which is self.count, but count is not here. So when we are doing self.count equals to count plus 1, it will throw an error that count is not defined. So let's try to execute it. So when we are executing it, it is throwing an error. Let's see the error. What error is saying? Error is saying that name count is not defined. So the output for this particular code is the error. It throws an error. Now let's see how to recover this error, because count is not defined as this error is mentioned. So what we can do so that it will not throw an error? So what we can do, if I have mentioned over here self.count, now see over here, it will print 6. Why? Because it will take the value of self.count as 5 and it will increase the value by 1. So the value will be 6 and the updated value will be printed over here. Now other thing which we can do is that to mention the count variable. So if I mentioned over here count variable as a parameter in init method as default parameter, and define the value it as 10. So if I execute it, now see over here, it will take the value of 10 and it will increase it by 1 and will print the output as 11. So the output of this particular code is 11. So in this way we can recover this particular error. Now let's move towards the next question. So again it is asking for the output, and we have the student class, and in which we have the init method, and again we have two instance attributes, roll number and grade, and we have display method again to display these two attributes. So in display method we are displaying self.roll number and self.grade. So here see over here we have creating the objects of student and passing the value as 34. So 34 will be passed as a roll number and S will be passed as the grade. Now the next statement, see over here, they have created one attribute, or you can say that the instance attribute age after creating the object. So using the reference we can create the attribute after the creation of object. Student 1 dot age equals to 7. So we have initialized the value as 7, and the last statement is it is asking has attribute. So in the previous series, in the previous videos, we have discussed two methods. One is get attribute and set attribute. This is the third method, which is the has attribute. So what has attribute will do, has attribute will check in the particular object. So object is passed as a student 1. So it is checking whether student 1 is having this age instance attribute or not. So it will print either true or false. If the student will contain age, so it will print true, otherwise it will print false. So let us take a look on the options. What the options are: true, false, 7 or exception. So has attribute will return the boolean value either true or false. So we have the age attribute, so that's why it will give us the answer as true. So the output of this particular code is true. Now let's try to understand this particular code by executing it on the Python notebook. Now this is the code in the your Google Colab notebook, and let's see what will be the output after executing this code. Now we have executed it, and see over here the result, it is showing is it as true. Why it is true? Because we have already initialized the age in the object st student, and we have initialized the value 7. So if we are asking that has attribute st has the attribute age, so it will throw the answer as true. So the answer will be true for this particular code. Now if I say name, now see over here we have name, so it is saying false. Why it is saying false? We don't have name sort of attribute in our student object, so that's why it is throwing false. Now let's move towards the next question. The next question is saying what are the key features of an object oriented programming language. So the basic key features, as you all know, are the classes and the objects. So answer for this particular question will be answer C, that is classes and objects, because after classes and objects, when object will be created, then the role of constructor and destructor will come into the existence. So basic key features are classes and objects. Now let's jump to the next question. It is saying if the class members are accessed through which particular operator. So with this question we have already done in the previous session. So we just access the class members through the dot operator. So the correct answer is your answer A, dot operator is used to access the class members. So let's take the next question. Next question is saying which of the following method is automatically executed when an object is created. So whenever we created the object, it will call the constructor, and the dunder method or a magic method which is used to call the constructor is our init method. So init method will automatically call whenever the object is executed. The output would be option D for this particular question. So let's take a look on the another question. So this question is of inheritance question. Just to take a look in the question, it is saying in order to extend a class, the new class should have access all the data and inner working of the parent class. So if in case of inheritance, if a derived class or a child class want to access the variables or the data members of of parent class, in that case it should use the super method to access it, but directly it cannot access. So answer will be false for this question. Take a look to the next question. So this is a code and they are asking the output of this particular code. Let's take a look to the code first. So basically there is two classes, class A and B. So it means and see over here, class B extends class A. So this is the code for inheritance. So what they are doing in class A, so it is a class A which is a parent class, and class B is your child class. So in A there is a init method. So init method is your constructor, and in that constructor they have called a multiply method. Okay, and they have print the value of self dot I. Okay, and then we have multiply method. What multiply method will do, it will take one parameter I along with self, and it is multiplying the value of I with 2. So this is class A, and what class B is doing, again it is having init method, its own constructor, and it is calling the constructor of the superclass. So super method is used to call the constructor of your superclass A class. So in this way we call the methods also, and here we are calling init method. So when we are calling init method of our A class, this will call the self dot multiply. So we'll see which multiply will be called. Okay, and then in class B again we have multiply method, and in this method again we have passed I, and value of self dot I will be 3 into I, and then they are creating the object for B. So obj equals to B. So let's try to understand what will happen when we are creating the object of B. So when we are creating the object of B, automatically the constructor will be called? Which constructor will be called? The constructor of B will be called. So let's come over here where we have defined init method inside the class B. So when def init will be called, see the second statement of init is super.init. It means whenever the constructor of B will be called, it will automatically call the constructor of your A class. Here in init method of A, they are calling self.multiply. So these are the options. We will see it later what is the correct answer. So see over here, self dot multiply 8. Now we know that we have multiply in A class and we have multiply in B class too. So now the question arises, when this self dot multiply will be called, which multiply will be called first? So right now we have created the object of B. So definitely when we are inside the B object, so the multiply of B will be called. So what this multiply will do, in self dot multiply we have passed 8. So let's come to the multiply method which is defined in B object. So it is saying whenever we pass the value of I over here, it will multiply it by 3. So 8 into 3 will be equals to 24. Now come to the init method again of A object first. Here it will return the value 24 and it is saying print self.i. So right now the value of self.i will be 24. So it will print the value self.i as 24. So according to it, the correct answer would be 24. Now let's see it on the Google Colab notebook whether the answer is correct or not. Okay, take a look to the output, and I just executed it and see the output. It gives us the 24 as an output. So the output of this particular code is 24. Now let's take a look to the next question. So this question I guess we have done in session 1. So it is saying which of the following language was developed as a first purely object oriented programming language. So first of all, who developed this object oriented concept? Just write it down in the comment box. So we have already done this question, and the same person designed or developed the programming language which is purely object oriented. So the answer for this particular question is Smalltalk. Option A is the correct answer for this question. So this is it for today's session. Hope you liked the video, and if you like the video, please share the videos, like and subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching.